Hey, wait a few minutes, let the guys kind of just wander in. Good afternoon. It's like 8:20 right now over here. Yeah, YOLO. At 3 a.m. You guys are like really staying up. I guess for you guys, Saturday is. I'm hoping that I'll get everything sorted out for Saturday. Um, I made a lot of progress actually um, on the design. So hopefully by Saturday, if I could figure out the rest of the problems I've been having, then we can actually see some animations on Saturday. Um, hopefully, and Saturday would be noon, so it works out for you guys because I think it'd be dinner time for you guys, and it'll be noon time for the North American guys. So I'm hopefully getting you guys a better update on Saturday. One change I did make is on the CSS for the moderators. You notice that like I say, Patrick is a moderator on here, so his name is now orange instead of blue. It was a dark blue, and you could hardly see his name when doing the review of the stream. So I decided to make it orange so it stands a little bit better, and so hopefully that works. Um, let's see if I could have a quick check on who's on uh, five. I think that's pretty good, I guess. Didn't really expect too many guys on because it's just kind of like a spontaneous stream, right? So, um, you guys can hear me okay though? Just do a mic check, make sure you guys can hear me okay. I'm gonna try to get this mic so that it's on the boom arm. One of the biggest problem I have with the boom arm is that my desk has a lip on it, and I can't get the clamp on. So I would have to clamp it on the other desk and extend the arm. It's awkward. So I have to probably see if I could drill a hole in the table for it. Yeah, it's the lag's normal. I mean, as long as the sync, like lip syncing is fine. Because the YouTube delay is about that. Because it basically has to go from my house up to YouTube and bounce back to your house. So the delay is normal. As long as the video and the audio sync is fine, we're good to go. So this is, I think, the number three of the Haribo Cube streams. So a couple of housekeeping things I wanted to kind of get out of the way. I know after the last stream, a lot of people started being interested in it. Um, I I appreciate all the offers to sort of be alpha testers and so on. We're not at that stage yet. Basically, I just started designing this stuff yesterday, 2 days ago. So 2 days ago, when before the Tuesday stream. So it's a little premature to have people sign up and start ordering stuff for the alpha. I think last stream I was anticipating alphas by mid to end of June. I think that's a pretty good time frame because that gives me time. That gives me basically the rest of May to sort out any of the issues and start ordering the the parts for for the frame itself, and then I have to go and also source the heat bed. So there's I know last time I talked about the aluminum bed, so I had to still kind of pick that up and get it here to make sure that it's gonna work. So uh, yeah, I've been taking down the names of people who've been contacting me. So yeah, keep that in mind when we're going to go with the alpha. Um, the second thing is, I think there's been a bit of back and forth between me and a couple guys on Facebook about the um, Haribo 3030 on the Facebook group with this Cerebral guy. Um, I didn't really want to get into too much of that, the arguing and stuff like that. My whole point on that was, um, I mean, all he did was took the whole GitHub bomb and everything, and basically just bought new lead screws, new smooth rods, and extended to Z. And then he basically just said he started calling his Weibo and then kind of go from there. So I know that over the last few months I put a lot of work in it, and I did to document it, to do the testing and do the some of the refinements on it, and it just kind of makes me sad that somebody just kind of go and take it, and then when you call them out on it, they still think that they're right. Um, not gonna. I think I'm over that. I'm just gonna let it go and drop it. But one of the things that is gonna happen is because I'm doing the Haribo Cube from scratch, and it's not derived from anything else. The only thing is the idea of the crossrod idea. That's the derivative from the Ultimaker. But there's only so many ways you could do the movement, so I don't really think that is true derivative in the sense that I didn't use any of their parts. Um, so my decision that right now is that it's gonna be closed source. So the guys in the alpha and the beta is gonna get the parts and the STLs, but the actual source, I say the fusion files and um, and the licensing for that is gonna be closed for now, so that I don't get in the same sticky situation where people just take it and relabel it and claim it as their own, right? So I don't want to be spending all these hours on it just to have somebody kind of take it. So just trying to protect myself there. Maybe one of these days, once I get past that fear, I will release the source and make it generally public available. But for now, is going to be within the people that basically the close group of people that we're going to come up with, and then just go from there. Um, the I think the decision to go with the 3030 is good because I think I just got a confirmation from Jason that he built his enclosure out of 2020 and he said it's Greek. So I think the 3030 is a good choice to go with. I've been playing around with it, and that and the ICUS bushings and the bearing holders. So I did a lot of last day too, but now that I started to do some test fitting, I'm finding that I need more. I need to make the pot smaller to make the clearance. But I guess I'll go and show you guys what I've done last few days. So I think Pat was asking last time, or perhaps maybe Pat somebody else was asking last time about the bearing on the I think it was on this one, the Z platform mount. So this one, wrong one. Let's go with that. So he was asking about the single length length ones. So I haven't had time to adjust this yet, but basically we're gonna go with this 12 mil double length uh, flanged bushing slash bearing to replace these two. So basically, the lead screw palm nut and the two bearing is going to be flange. So and we're basically going to use the flange from the bottom to hold the platform up. So if you guys look at the let's say the MK2 design, um, John, you're killing me. Um, the um, the MK2 design basically is the screw, the bolt goes through the top, and it makes contact with a nut, and um, and basically the whole all the weight of the gantry being is forced onto the two bolts holding the gantry up. So in the case of the gantry on the MK2, it's not a big deal. It's not that heavy. But when you have a platform with the heat bed and the weight of the print, having just having the bolt on top really doesn't make sense. So what's going to happen is we're going to flip that around and basically have if you look at the bearing itself, basically what's going to happen is the platform is going to be on top the top of the surface, so that the weight is on the flange, and then the gravity would keep it in place. So because if you think about the way that the platform's going to work, the platform's going to start from the top and it's going to slowly descend as the print goes on. So with the flange on the bottom of that platform mount here, so the flange being on top of here is gonna hold up the whole platform a little bit better than having it from the top to pull it up from the bottom. So so that one right now, like we we sort of had the proof of concept seems to work. Like I related our last stream, so that works. I just want to kind of quickly update on the bearing situation. I ordered the bearings from AliExpress just for fitment. Most likely, is a fairly standard size. So they have they have I guess bushing that works in that space as well. So um, it's up to you guys what you want to use, but the mount is going to work for all the different options we have. So that's the update for the Z platform. So I kind of want to go through the design of this. It's going to change. So one of the things is I made this, which is this part here, right? This part here, um, the XY carriage, I'm calling it. Um, I drew that out of context. So basically, what I mean by that is, I designed this part. The first part, other than the Z platforms, this is the first part I did. So I sort of just winged it and said, you know what, I I like these I guess machine holders. They the little ball inside the flesh color ball, it pivots. So if there's alignment issue between this ball and this ball here, it will work itself out. So I turn this on. So that rod, if let's say the printed part is slightly off, it will still work. It won't bind. So that's one thing about these. And the other one was the cross rod. Um, the cross rod here is also on a pivoting bushing. So if that is not perfectly perpendicular, so let's say we're off by hey, see you later, man. Yeah, catch up later because it's gonna be recorded anyway. So if this rod is not perfectly perpendicular um, to each other, it we talk about like maybe like half a degree off. We're still pretty good here. So one of the things that you if you look at any kind of these ultimaker movements, um, their major problem is there's too many variables. This rod, I'll show you the picture, but this rod and the one across from it has to be parallel. The two diagonal ones are not diagonal, but the two opposing ones have to be perpendicular. The two crossbars to be perpendicular, and a lot of times is there's gonna be spots where it's not perfectly aligned. Then it starts binding up, and there's a lot of time kind of wasted trying to align all these different moving parts. But by using these pivot like pillar blocks, pivoting pillar blocks, we sort of kind of move away from that. Um, so let's just go and hide these rods. So you notice that that there is a fairly simple part to model. So what I did was um, I made two indentations so that they sort of align that pillar block in place. So there's an indent about 1 millimeter sunken into the part. So there's not relying on the bolt holes. It's going to rely on this indent to basically align the two blocks. That will also help it be perfectly straight versus like just rely on the bolts. One of the problems is that um, they can't make the hole of the bushing holder perfectly 5 millimeter because then when the bolt goes through it, it'll bind up. So they make it 5.5. So that's about a 0.25 play in the bolt itself. And if we don't have these alignment indents, basically what's going to happen is that you could be going either way, 5 millimeter, 0.5 millimeter either way. We kind of solve that problem by having the indents to align the blocks themselves. Um, the other thing you might notice is also um, on this side is on one side we have nut traps, and on the other side we have counterbore bolt holes. So what that allows us to do is actually we use the same part. So if you look at here, the bolt here corresponds to a nut on the bottom, and the nut here corresponds to the bolt on the bottom. So that allows us to reuse the same part for the top and bottom of this clamp to hold the bushing holders in place. The belt holders on top and belt holders on the bottom, uh, depending on which axes you're on, you use um, the correct belt holder for that purpose. So what this means is if you look at the XY movement itself, um, we have 4 XY carriages, and each one of those are half. So basically, top half and bottom half. You could print 8 of these off the same STL, so I don't have to go and make a special top, bottom, left, right carriage, and there's no orientation issue. So when you put it together, it doesn't matter if you put it like which direction you put it together, it's still gonna work regardless of the orientation. So it cuts down on the sort of like the spare parts count too, because it works either way. The halves. The other thing is the the bolt hole um, for this bushing holder here has a nut trap, and then that square nut trap is the same for top and bottom. So we end up uh, with the this bolt lining up perfectly with those two, and um, one of the things that I guess will change because I'll tell you why the problem in a second. But if I hide this one, you'll see that one of the issue is I'll bring up the this one. One of the issue is going to be that these like this bolt hole and this bolt hole is oval. And the problem is that this one, these two are not going to be able to line it up and down. So I'm trying to see if there's a way to notch this. So how would I try to explain this? So you see that in this one, okay? I have these indents to align that pillow block, but unfortunately I can't get the same indent in this piece here because oh, come on, there you go. I guess I could, if I really wanted to, I could use these two surfaces as indents, but the this side, this surface there that's highlighted is the flat side that we print on, so it prints vertically this way. I wanted it to not have too many um, overhangs, I guess, here. So if I use this surface as the overhang, as the alignment, I would have to put a hole here. That's going to require um, support. So I kind of wanted to keep that smooth. So I got to find another way to make this align better. But right now I can tell you that this most of this design I can reuse. Like, but it needs to change because if I go back to the XY movement here, the problem is after I start laying out the rods, some of these rods are not long enough. I'll replace those in the next demo. But the problem is these carriages, they look nice, but they're way too big. Because when this carriage gets to the end here, okay, this carriage is not able to get to this end because this is too thick. I need to make this thinner so that they would pass under each other. One of the things I was thinking of doing was moving this whole system down to give clearance, right? But the problem is then the distance between these two cross rods will be too high. Right now it's already sort of high, which I didn't really like. I mean, if I look at this here, um, this is already 19. The distance is already 19. So if I make it the lower rods any lower, then I end up with a really tall spider. And the problem is that the the E3D comes after the end of that spider, somewhere like that. So overall, it's going to be like 50, 60 tall for the spider. So that's not going to work. So I guess one of the things that I learned from my trade, I work as a software developer. So one of the things that I learned is that this is not a real failure, because what's happening is, like I said mentioned in our stream, is I anchored an idea. The idea is, the frame. I anchored the frame last stream, started laying out the rods, make sure that everything works. Then I started working on the XY characters. Now that I got to the XY characters, I found that, okay, the clearance issue comes up. So all I have to do is kind of have another iteration of the XY characters to make them thinner and make them a little bit more streamlined so that they could pass over each other, and then decrease the distance between these two rods. If I didn't go through this whole effort of modeling these blocks out, I wouldn't know that there would be an issue. I would so that now that I know how to solve it, so then I could go back and redo these blocks. the rest of this looks pretty good because what I need to do is actually make adapters that will sit behind these two pillow blocks, so that the rod doesn't move. There's a backstop for the block because if you look at the bushing holder themselves, they're open in the back, so the rod has a chance to move to slide in and out of that holder. So what I probably end up doing is putting like printing a simplified plate that basically backstops that rod from going from shifting, and it should be fine. That's a very easy fix. What I like is the fact that I could orient these horizontally and use the groove to do the mount. So those will work pretty good. I think I like that. A lot of the other guys are using some sort of like round bearing and then building like printing the mounts. I think this is a good off-the-shelf solution to use for this rod mount here. This is a 10 mil one, and I use the same series. Basically, this is the 8 mil one. So borrowing this idea where I'm using it for the horizontal orientation, I'm probably gonna have to redo this block to make this rod holder horizontal. So what that if I make this horizontal, then basically what that means is that I'm gonna have to make the clamshell left and right instead of up and down like this, and not use this series of pillow block. Because this pillow block is actually pretty chunky in that there's a lot of unnecessary dead space. So we're probably gonna end up going with something a little bit more streamlined. I was looking up the different I guess ones, and I think I'm probably gonna go with this one because this one is pretty streamlined. Same pivoting ball, except very small compared to the other one, and I only need to mount it single sided from one end. I'm getting samples to try on this one, so I'm gonna see if this works. And the nice thing about it is that I have this cavity on the bottom, so I can actually make a alignment block. So basically, alignment block is gonna you slide in here, and then these two uh, M3 holes is gonna hold it in place, and that'll work pretty well, I think. So um, I kind of have to redo the whole XY carriage with this, but it shouldn't take long. Probably one night I could actually get that. So with that iteration, um, I probably end up replacing these XY carriages um, and then uh, raising this whole carriage up to meet the so that they meet better than 19 millimeters here, and start working on the spider. Um, I'm trying to. I've been trying in the last few days to learn how to animate this so that I could drag like drag the spider, and you start showing the movement of the XY characters. Hopefully, I want to get that done for Saturday, so sort of a big review, show and tell. But I think last few days I've been making a lot of effort on it. No, sorry, spending a lot of effort making a lot of progress on the design. Oh, hang on, I gotta I guess I didn't plug the other camera in. There you go. So printing the last part for that order, the red Haribo 3030 order. Um, I'm kind of running low on the filament, and I told the guy, I said I probably won't do the gantry parts if I run out because um, is getting close, and this X carriage is taking a little while to print. Um, Hopefully he won't mind because he just have to reuse the X ends. Everything else I printed already, even the LCD cover. So yeah, I mean I think when I was putting my mind to it, I think things started to kind of fall into place. The yeah, the whole library of like um, the IGES stuff. Like this is a 10 mil one, so you can kind of tell it's a little bit bigger than the other one. Um, we didn't need this one because this one is sort of like uh, sort of beefy compared to the 8 mil one. So the I think the idea of going through and using the IGES bushings for majority of the the bearing locations makes sense. Mainly because like it's already made. You know, it's like $5-6 for a pair of these. I think that was like I think maybe it's like $7-8 for a pair of these. So you know, it's if your entire your like all the money that you're gonna be spending is gonna be up here. Um, no doubt about it that like that's where the most important part is. Like once you get this part correct, you vary the length of the which one is it? Yeah, you vary the length of this piece, and basically you have as tall as of a printer as you want. Um, you vary the length of these rods and the length of these cross members, and you have as wide as you want, up to a limit. I mean, there's obviously some limitations, but because we're using 10 mil rods, I could probably say that we could safely go up to 500, 450, 500 across for the 10 mil rods. Um, if you guys are really pushing it, you probably could go with 12 mil rods, but and then use 10 mil rods on the inside. That's just insanity. I mean that is really pushing it. So I think 300 by 300 for the XY and then 350 400 for the Z is going to be the de facto standard for the Haribo Cube. If you guys want to make a Cube XL, we probably could just. It's fairly simple, I think, to let's say the crossrods. If we kept the same idea using a holder, you just swap this holder for a bigger one. Hopefully, I got to check if the offset stuff like that is going to be correct. But it's not hard to remodel or parameterize that expired carriage anyway. And then the rod holder for the end again, that one, those are easy. So it's easy when you start to use the off the shelf bushings versus trying to get round bearings and building all sorts of funny contraptions and clamps and stuff. So um, the I got away with not having to use a clamp for this rod because they will sit within these two sides, and just the virtue that there's two carriages holding them in together, I could get away with not clamping them down. They don't need to be clamped down anyway. They could spin freely in there as long as the spider moves freely along these two axes, right? So we're good with that. Um, oh, and now I remember the biggest problem that we're gonna run into is gonna be getting these for the. This is a remember I showed you guys um, the 10 mil bore GT2 wheels. You're not gonna find these in 12 mil. I don't think they make them in 12 mil bore. So that's gonna be one of the issues is finding a wheel that will work. And you see how big this one is. That will take away from the clearance that we have here and here when we start to actually mount the motors in here because the motors will take up some space as well, right? So that would be that'd be interesting to see how we will um, where we will put the motors to fit that problem. Um, I think, like I said, I really don't want to rush too much on the design, but I mean, I'm just kind of showing you guys as I learn how to kind of work my way up from the different breakdown of the parts. So just to kind of recap, like we went through and we looked at, the XY carriage halves, which I showed that is asymmetrical, and then from there we kind of said, well, we assemble um, we assemble them together, and I was making sure things like these bolts are correctly and the nuts are correctly positioned so that I can see that there's any clearance issues, and even down to like the washer. I was like making sure that these parts have a washer in them, and I can show you, I guess, here. Just take one of these washers away. Yeah, you see, I think you can see that the problem I was talking about before, where this bolt is sort of in this slot, so it's not really aligned. So you guys know what I'm kind of nitpicky about that. I want to kind of make sure that the bolt is aligned and that there's no guesswork in the position of that bolt. So yeah, this part this was kind of rushed, and I need to kind of work on that. But it's a non-issue now because we're gonna redo this whole part anyway. So um, because of the clearance issue here, right? So but at least then I think some of the guys were asking for me to share my thought process on this as I'm going through and building it, and I'm just kind of verbalizing all the stuff that's going through my head right now, so that you guys understand how I think about it when I start to design and build these ones. Um, yeah, so I guess today's Thursday and it's 9 o'clock almost, so probably not going to work too much on it tonight. The This weekend is kind of like Mother's Day. A lot of things happening. Um, both going to my in-laws and stuff like that. So um, I'm gonna try to do some of the work tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon when I get off work to at least redo the XY carriages, because those shouldn't take too long. Redoing those and then updating this diagram so that it shows the clearance is going to be good to miss the uh, the two sides, and then I think I gotta start thinking about where I would mount the motors. So on one of the guys' designs, instead of mounting the motors high up, I guess that's where the most of the weight is gonna be distributed. He had a really long belt that went all the way to the bottom of the case, and the motors are basically mounted on the bottom of the enclosure. One thing I didn't like about that was the fact that the you have a lot of weight on the bottom, and which is good, but the belt is going to be a nightmare to tension the belt vertically. So I think last stream I also mentioned that don't let this. Do I have? Yeah, that one. So don't let this cutout fool you, right? This member here goes higher, right? So you would probably end up going like, maybe I just do that now. So I'm just gonna fake it by putting another piece there, right? So I'll just do that, right? So because nah, let's go. So because what I said last time was that you need space up here for the spider is going to be here, and your filament is going to need some space to come in and do a gentle bend into the extruder. So your enclosure is probably going to be another. This is another 175 millimeters taller. So your enclosure is probably going to end. The ceiling is going to end up here. There's this space on top of here and here. So probably most likely what's going to happen is I'm going to put the motor here and drive this axle. Put the motor here and drive this axle. Um, so that at least only one corner, if you need to, if you like only one corner of the enclosure is going to be require some adjustment of the panel that goes into this groove and this groove. The rest of them will be full panels, right? It's just these two. You're gonna have to compensate for the motor, and because like I think Pat, no, not Pat, I think it's Phil was saying if we make this the motor sit on this extrusion and this extrusion, it acts as a heatsink. So we that's a good idea. So I'll probably end up somehow making it so that it would transfer the heat to these two. Not sure how we'll do that yet, but we'll meet that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I guess that's what they used to say. Um, I think that's. Let me just save this so I don't lose it. Fusion 360's been acting up a lot lately. I think it's a lot to do with um, like all the edits I'm doing. Like every time for whatever reason, every time I move something, it wants to do capture precision, and it's making this really complicated. So hopefully it's going to be able to take care of that. There's something I wanted to cover. Maybe not. Maybe that's it. Um, I think I'm gonna go and minimize this, and let's bring back up the this one. Okay, let's kind of talk about this. So Patrick, what kind of upgrades have you messed up? So here, this is the the E3D V6 mount for the OT maker. You see that their Y carriage is real XY carriage is very tiny. But you gotta remember too is that they use 5 mil rods here and 8 mil rods here. We have 10 mil rods here and 8 mil rods here. So our XY is gonna be a little bit bigger. The other thing is that the distance between here and here, I'm guesstimating is less than 15. Uh, because this is 5 and this is 5, so I'm thinking this is about 15 for the cross. So because we're using 8 and 8, I'm hoping that I could get this down to keep this about 1920, and that will hang the spider off of that crossbar there. Yeah, I the Fusion 360, the last two updates been shit. Like a better word, is shit because I lose the rotating cube thing that allows me to center the view. The shift middle mouse button rotation just goes erratic. The model upload, like when I get a part like a step file and I try to upload, I would say once out of every 3 times I upload, it would fail, and it would fail in spectacular fashion in that it would just freeze the whole fusion, and I can't do anything. I have to force quit. The other one is if you if you go select a model for upload and you tab out or like you out like command tab and switch to another program. Let's say I switch to Chrome to answer some messages. I come back, the fusion is stuck because the file selection window has modal and it's stuck in the background and you can't click on it. I found the only way to get past that without a force crit is to do F3, which is show windows, and click on the modal window in the back that normally you couldn't get to. Then that gets you out of that loop. Otherwise, you're gonna try to click on everything and it's gonna beep at you. It's not gonna let you do anything. So yeah, the last few have been pretty shit. I can tell you, like I don't know what they're doing with the testing over there, but it's been pretty shit. So um, I hope they fix it. It's causing a lot of headaches, like especially when I'm trying to do all this work and try to iterate nightly, and not having that is killing me. So um, the one of the things you see that, oh, all right, thanks, Steve. Maybe we'll catch up again uh, Saturday, or in chat, whichever comes first. Thanks for dropping by. So you see that this is actually pretty good. That there's a boulder setup. So that's one of the things that you guys will notice is um, most of these is gonna be bouldens. Um, there's really no way around it. I mean, you think about it. You could in theory put a geared extruder on here. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think Bolden is the way to go, but I'm not even sure if they like all the most of the Core XY also uses Bolden, so I don't think they even have a direct drive for it. Seriously, I guess I was wrong. You could do a direct drive, I guess, on top of the Ultimaker, but um, yeah, see, that's what I mean. Like it gets rather chunky, right? Like if you look at this, it's like the actual spider is already pretty big. I mean, you look at um, the heat blocks down here, and then this is like what I'm guesstimating. This has to be, if these are 40 mil fans, these got to be a 70 millimeter tall spider. Then you add on top of that another like 60 for the direct drive extruder. Yeah, like that's like a 150 millimeter tall tower of like stupidity, in my opinion, here. So, no, not gonna happen. Oh, yeah, now I remember. Yes. So, get some water here. I gotta get myself a box of Fanta one of these days because I ran out, so I gotta go buy it. So, if I go back, if I could, I don't know, did I quit out of Fusion? I don't think I did. Yeah, still have it. So, if I maximize this so we can see what I talk about. So, one of the um, one of the design choices we could make last time was the cargo container crane idea. So the beauty of this XY carriage is that it still allows us to do that, right? Um, if we move like let's see. That one, get that one, remove that, remove that. There you go. So if you think about it, if we remove all of that and we put back this one, right? This, if we adapt the this XY carriage so that uh, so if I adapt this XY carriage to have a double bar, like kind of like how the MK2 is, this whole thing can move back and forth as like I said, like a cargo the cargo container crane, and then your X carriage moves along here, and we could put the change this piece here to mount the X motor, and this design still works. So, you know, if worst comes to worst, and we want to kind of have a fairly high efficient layout for a large format printer before we get to come doing the whole crossbar, we could adapt this design for that, and then we could start printing with that first, right? So um, there's a lot of possibilities with this frame. The other one is I wanted to sort of standardize on, let's say, the span of this rod here and the distance between this cross member and the one across. Once we standardize on that, we could start using that as the enclosure for the current Haribo while I work on the rest of this. And basically, when as time comes to as the parts are become available, you basically starts bolting on the parts to the enclosure, and the enclosure becomes the printer. So that's the short term plan goals that will get us to the long term like large format printer. So hopefully, it's going to be an interesting journey. I mean, if you guys think about that, we get the usage of the enclosure now. We get all the panels cut. The rubber seal thing I showed you guys last time to mount the panels. It's gonna look sweet. We put the printer in there, getting all enclosed. You guys can all pimp it out with the LED and all that other stuff. Then as I start building the gantry pods, you guys go and start to print them and start to test the movement. This thing on top doesn't interfere with your printer on the bottom. You go ahead and you start to wire it up and start to do the pulleys and stuff like that. Test the movement of the top gantry, and once we kind of work out all the kinks and the bugs, then we just bolt on the Z platform, and we are done. We have a printer. So I think that is a good plan to go with, and it means that we are spending money in a step by step fashion versus a initial outlay of like $1,000 or whatever, $800, whatever it's gonna cost. I don't know. Like, don't quote me on it, but whatever that total is gonna be, we don't have to outlay it all at once. We just basically buy it over time, and we could kind of work out like let's say deals with ideas to get these bushings, the holders, and we'll start to kind of start accumulating the parts as we go along in the next few months. So I think that's a good plan. And then we start to build the bomb because one nice thing about this is that right away you could tell like I sort of learned my lesson the first time is I don't no longer just randomly pick the fasteners, right? I go and make sure that each fastener that I use is in the diagram, and then we could go through and generate a bomb from this and not have to deal with for me forgetting is it 12 or 14 or do I need a washer. How many of these egg bushings do I need? It's all going to be captured in the drawing. So, and then we could take pictures, like screen caps of these assemblies, to show how the screws and stuff like go together. So, I know that there was a whole discussion about 12 and 14 with me and Pat for a while. So that should be interesting. I think I'm gonna end it like you got 6 minutes before the 1 hour mark, so I'm gonna end it in the next few minutes. One of the things I want to kind of once if you guys have a time to direct message me later is I want to know if there's a way other than applying an appearance to this. Is there a way I could X-ray this so I could see what's behind it? Because like sometimes I want to work on a detail behind this, and I found that I'm constantly rotating it back and forth to get to that spot. Let's say I want to put a nut in here, or I want to see that there's a feature here. I don't see that because it's blocked on this side. And I was watching some of the YouTube videos. They were able to X-ray through this to see like basically I say take this body and make this hollow, not hollow but make it transparent so I can see behind it. But I'm not sure. Like I'm still new to this. Hopefully somebody will teach me a little bit more. The other one is I want to learn how to animate this or as a joint, because that one of the biggest problem is this which one? Like this carriage, right, is imported as a component, as a one part. I try to do a as what was it? As built joint between this rod and this particular bushing holder to have this whole thing slide on this rod. But all it did was slide this back and forth on the rod. So I might be doing them backwards. And then when I try to just select them backwards, it started sliding this piece back and forth. So if somebody has some free time and wants to help me with making this whole XY carriage move along this rod and drag this rod along with it, that'd be great. Because I rather you show me how to do it than me spending 2 hours trying to figure it out. In the meantime, I could have just used that time to model the rest of this. So if you have knowledge of how to do that, let me know so that I don't have to struggle through it. And I think with that, I will sort of, and yeah, not go with this. So let's see if there's another one before we go. Yeah, now we go way back. Like this is ridiculously looking. So um, yeah, it seems like even back in October 2016, see all this weight on this, it just seems odd. Like I hope you guys are okay with going voting because I don't think this is gonna work. Unless we have some really good excuse of why we need to do this. I'm thinking we just go with voting and that's it. John, is your Delta voting? Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a big gash right there where I took a chunk of the PEI out. Okay, yeah, I'm probably gonna go with Bolden. I mean, seriously, if you're gonna do flex and you're gonna do a flex bowl like the size of your head, yeah, maybe. But I don't even want to do flex on like the regular MK2, so or the Haribo. So I don't think I want to do flex on the large format printer. One thing I really want to get is the volcano and do the 1.2 like Patrick or Baron's doing, and start printing like really big pots. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I could show you guys. Now you guys gonna see what I've been watching because I'm gonna go through my history here. Rec. Yeah, it's not on here, but the what was it? Creative reality. I'll find it, but basic midget tone. Basically, one of the there was a video I saw this morning. Basically, the guy had a 1.2 nozzle, and he was making. Oh yes, now I remember. Loose spot PEI sheet replacement. I was looking that up this morning. There we go, that one. So I'll turn this down, just guys' music. But basically, uh, make this bigger so we can watch it together.
About 3.5 hours to print this whole guy. So, and less thicker and a lot faster because it's got a much bigger heating unit right there. So, it can print just way faster. For example, I was able to print this guy over here in less than 4 hours. He was I think it was about 3.5 hours to print this whole guy. So, yeah, wonderful. Something like this, for example, took me 2 hours to print. And just so you can see how big it is on the machine there, that's about 2 hours right there to print something like that. So it's way faster than anything ever would have been before. Just for fun, I actually went into SketchUp and I took this file and I just basically took a circular item and I cut out a little piece. I pulled up and I twisted it in the program and I printed it out just to see what it would look like. And wow, I was amazed with how quickly and how fast it actually printed this guy. So now I've got my own drum. Actually, what I use it for is I have to put the camera right here. I'm doing little time lapses right there. So, anyways, who knows what that could be used for? But a little storage device. And of course, we've got this guy right here, and he took just over 3 hours to make himself. So, it's a really cool looking piece here, and it's just amazing that we can print these guys so quickly. So, I'll show definitely a bunch of time lapses if I can. But here we go.
Let's get to the interesting part. Basically, yeah, he totally gouged the crap out of that PI, and he was going to talk about replacing it. Not about glue here, but we printed these parts, and I don't know if I could pause it enough to show you guys. Yeah, so look at, I mean, the layer lines on those are like, I actually like it because uh, it's not like a perfect smooth print, but he just moved it a bit and it looks pretty good. I think like going with 1.2 and printing those big faces and stuff like that makes a lot of sense. I think probably you know it'd be nice to do if we get a chance to get that working. Um, so I was gonna show this one. So basically, this heat bed is held down by four kind of like quarter size corners, and this quick disconnect for here, and there's a string relief for the cable here. So I'm thinking, we could probably do the same thing. Like I'm pretty sure somebody could go and come up with a string relief clamp for the MK2 or MK42 heat bed with the carriage, and then have quick disconnect for the thermistor and the power. But these are the RC connectors we use is good for 30 amps. So I think that way he could go and quickly just remove the heat bed. So see that right there. That's all we have to do is just keep it this short and then have the rest of the cable kind of coming out of that. So it's interesting to see. I think he shows it here. Yeah. See here? That's all he does. There's a string relief for it, and yeah, I think those are fairly common, right? So I think we would be good with that. Um, this guy is very interesting because he sells these kits that allow him to mount. Oh, there we go. This is where we could kind of. So he sells these are VR sensors. So he has them mounted on magnets, and he just basically takes them down when he needs to do adjustments, and he prints and sells them online, and he's been pretty successful selling those kits online. So yeah, I know it's like I wish um yeah I wish like they went with that instead of like a hard wire that we have on NK2. I wish that they went with something like that. Anyway, 5 minutes over 1 hour. I'm getting tired. I think I'm gonna call it right here. Thanks for tuning in. You guys like the orange name better than the blue, right? Because now you actually see your name when it scrolls through. So, and I purposely left the font that size too, so that when people are reviewing it later, they can actually read it. Because I looked at Beans and a bunch of other people's font size, they're way too small. I mean, like you couldn't read it after the stream is done. So I just decided, just leave it. I think just changing um, how to put it, changing the color makes sense. So I'm just gonna leave that. All right, I think that's good. I'm gonna sit here and stare at the print for a bit, and then gonna go and try to model that XY carriage tomorrow, um, and then hopefully um, get something going with the animation. So that request still outstanding. If you guys know how to do that animation with the XY carriage moving along the rod, let me know. Teach me how to do it so I don't have to spend hours on it. And Ali, I got your order. I haven't started your order yet. This one is almost done. Um, so I'll start on that mm, this weekend, and a few days I'll have it out to you. So thanks for the order. Um, let's see. Oh, MK42. So the all the group buy orders should, like I said, like last time, all the group buy orders should have shipped out. The Tindy orders that was up into Monday was shipped out. We added five new MK42 clones on the Tindy store. They were sold pretty much within a few hours. They were sold out again. Those are going out Saturday, so uh, he's packing them up. Like Matt's packing them up and we're getting them to go. We have another 25 coming, so if you need them, we will put back in the store. Um, I had ordered more PEI for my own use from the cruiser store. I think that's still the cheapest way to do it. Is eight. It was $8 each, like 8.90 something each, and then $10 shipping. So by the time it got to me, was $28 for two UPS shipping. So I then have to replace these two because like this one I gouged yesterday, the other one I gouged like last week. So still totally stupidly my fault. Don't try to rush removing a large footprint print or PETG. Otherwise, you just end up lifting the PEI. Then when you slide the tool under it, you just slice the whole right into your PEI. So yeah, not happy with that. I might try that filler print thing. Everybody's telling me filler print is the way to go, so I might try that too. Anyway, good enough. I will see you guys on chat or Saturday stream, noon and shortly after. All right, see you guys.